Hello and welcome to the Trading Post podcast, where we unlock the secrets of business-to-business trade, dive into powerful networking strategies, and share my exciting journey of using a podcast to market my business instead of relying on SEO. I'm your host, Trader Stu. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Trading Post podcast with your host, Trader Stu. And I wanted to touch on something real quick again that everyone seemed to really enjoy. It's got to be one of the top downloaded podcasts that I have, except for the pitch, of course. That's only because I send that out. That's in my email signature, like with the link. If you guys are ever curious, just send me an email and I'll reply to you and you can see what's going on. But basically, the whole point, like I mentioned before, the podcast started off as just an explanation of what trade is. I work for Metro Trading Association, of course, and as a sales and marketing manager, people always ask me, what is it, what do you do, and how does it work, and all the fun stuff, right? And I'm like, the best way to do it is put it in a podcast, and that was over a year ago, and it just kind of keeps going. And now I just kind of hit a little bit more on several topics that turns it into an actual podcast. So let me adjust my mic here real quick. It seems distant, you know what I mean? There, that's better. I always recommend too, I didn't do it last week because just whatever, but have your earmuffs on or your headphones, and when you're recording, you can hear it. Anyway, let's get into it. So the podcast I was talking about, the episode was how to turn a podcast into leads, trust, and real reach. And that was number one download for me. And I'm going to kind of touch on that again on a little bit of a different angle and how to go more into a flywheel that grows itself for a podcast, okay? So let's get into basically choosing one core job for your podcast. Now, one thing that's common with a lot of people, and me, myself included, this is not my first rodeo. I've done, I think, 5 or 7 YouTube channels, and I've done, I think, a podcast or 2 before. So, it's not a one and done thing. They see people that are successful and doing tons of uploads, and they're like, oh, that must be easy, I guess. So it doesn't. You just got to trial and error. It's just like I'm trying to be a gardener and grow food for the family, just, of course, just in case SHTF, right? And not to save money, because trust me, I'm not saving money. This is a hobby that I need to stop tracking how much I should spend on it, because it's that's not depressing, but like it's a hobby, okay? It's not like a way to save money. It's just a way to be secure. And you're just like, anything in bulk, when you buy bulk, like at a grocery store, even energy, gas, electricity, it's always going to be cheaper, okay? Then if you do it yourself and you're your own deal, it's going to cost more. Maybe one day I'll start saving money, but right now my tomatoes cost about, $2,000 a tomato or something like that. It's crazy. So anyway, narrow your podcast down to like doing one job, okay? Because podcast burnout, and Jimmy, who is a beast from YouTube, he said, do 100 episodes and then come talk to me. Like, after you do 100 episodes, I'm going to go on your channel, make sure you did 100, and then maybe you can have a conversation on how to do things or do a different angle or concentrate on different thumbnails and how they look. Because you're most likely, he just filtered out 99.99% of people. You got to do 100 episodes for it to kind of really set in. And I myself, I don't even know how many episodes I'm on. I think I'm on 55, and that's been a year. So it's average about one a week. Okay, maybe a bit more, but no, less than that, because I started in October. But either way, I'm like just slightly less than one a week right now on average. So you got to do 100 and figure it out what you're doing, what your angle is, what you like, and you got to choose just one job for your YouTube channel or podcast. Because people, if they want to tune in and listen to how to assemble something or whatever, and then you're talking about something else, you got to have a core theme for your thing. Otherwise, people are just going to click off of it and you just wasted your time. You're not getting the right people, the right audience. So when you do a burnout, it comes from trying to make your show do everything all at once. So the one primary job is it to attract clients? Is it to build trust with your community? Or is it to support an offer that you're already selling? So shows with a single purpose outperform the ones that try and serve 10 or more. The clarity is the first piece of your flywheel. And that's that reciprocating idea that I have about the flywheel and it's self-replicating, okay? So narrow it down. The podcast you're listening to as we speak, the trading post started off because, like I said, I'm trying to just explain what trade is. If you've never been in a trading association before, don't know what business of barter is, and you're like, oh yeah, trading, chickens for lettuce. I don't know. And you're like, yeah, kind of, but we take it one more step, further, and you put it into a credit-based system, and then that way you can use it with anybody else that's in the group. And you're like, I don't get it. And you're like, okay, well, yeah. So we'll start from the top, and after so many times, you're just like, okay, look, I'm just going to give you this link to episode 1, season 1, and there you go. It's called The Pitch. It explains everything. And that's how the show kind of took off. And instead of like, I forgot why I did it, but I was like, well, I'll just publish it, And then I got people in Australia and Great Britain and Texas and people all over the world starting to listen to it in China. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe we got something here. So I did another episode and then I got more listeners. And it just kind of grew itself like that. So, now I do it kind of unconventionally. I'm kind of like, am I practicing what I preach right now? I don't know, because so I have 4 seasons. I figured, I got spring, summer, fall, winter, right? So I figured season 1 is trade education and member spotlights. So one day, maybe if I do interviews, I left that open to maybe interview people who are in trade and how it's helped them. And then season 2 is sales, marketing, and networking. Season 3 is experiencing podcasting for business promotions. So this is what you're listening to right now. This is season 3. And then season 4 is prepping to cover your tail. So, and that season 4 spawned off because I'm an NPC in a video game that's getting released, and it's about prepping, and they're using my characteristics to run the trading post in the video game called Get Prepped. So that I figured I'm a prepper a little bit too, kind of, not great. I wish I had a bunker. I wish I had a windmill. I'm in a suburb. I'm not really much of a prepper as much as I am just kind of like, I would just rather not stand in a FEMA line, level of prepping. I have a couple extra gallons of water and some, cans of soup and a bag of rice, just so like, hey, FEMA's here. You're like, yeah, you know what? I'd rather not. I got my own water and food. Thank you, though. That's kind of like where I'm at. I aspire to be more, but as of right now, I'm limited. My neighbors keep calling the authorities on me for every time I try and do something in my backyard. You need a permit for everything. I might as well live in an HOA. I digress. Okay, I'll stop right there. Anyway, so experience podcasting for business promotion is what you're listening to. And it all ties together. It's all business. It's all kind of like trading. It's all the business mindset, I guess, is what I'm at, but in different angles. Not many people talk about trade. Not many people talk about how to use your actual podcast for promoting it, because your business, because they're trying to just be the promoter instead of educating on it, right? So anyway, the other one you can do is deliver value by solving one specific problem. So each of your episodes should revolve around one problem your listener can't ignore. When you do that, 3 important things happen. 1, your content becomes easier to consume. 2, listeners stay longer and retention increases. And 3, you build trust without sounding salesy. So the last thing you want, you don't need to sound salesy no more. We have the internet. If people want something, you're going to Google it and they're going to find it and they're going to buy it, most likely on Amazon. However, this is not like a thing against Amazon, but we canceled our Prime. Did you notice it got kind of cheap? It's kind of got like Temu got into it. Anyway, most creators try to lecture instead of solve something small but meaningful. And today's listeners' reward shows that respect their time. So don't be salesy and give something before you get something. The other thing you can do is use call to actions or CTAs. Not a sales pitch. So instead of shouting, buy now, your offer small, helpful next steps such as download the checklist, join the email list for episode recaps, or answer this week's question. These micro call to actions guide listeners without pressure and they convert better. So one of the ones I was super impressed with, actually I found it this week because I'm getting my garden ready, I'm thinking about gardening, is go to MI Gardener. I think it's migardener.com. You know what? I'll give them a promo here because I like this. This is a good thing for you guys to check out as an example. Let me just click through here. Michigan Gardener. It's just michigangardener.com, or MI Gardener is what it is. He's in St. Clair, Michigan. He's got a huge YouTube channel. It's been on for a while. He's got, I don't know how many fans he's got. I'll actually tell you. Let me go in here real quick. MI Gardener. I'll save you the time from having to look yourself. Gardener, here we go. How many subscribers do you have, Luke? Luke has 1.38 million subscribers. That's awesome. I used to work at Ray Wiegand's nursery, and I met Luke in there and got to talking. He actually followed my old YouTube channel. Pretty cool. He's a big YouTuber, and he's got his own store in St. Clair. I got to go there, actually. But what I want to get into is go to migardener.com, go into, where did I find this? He's got free downloads. I think it was shop. And then, let me see here. Maybe it's merchandise. He's got free downloads and free guides on here. Let me go in here again here. Anyway, go in there, and he's got a free, like, add to cart, and then you download the PDF of, things for gardening. And it's in his shopping cart, but it's free. I think it's cool, because now you're going to go there, you're going to use his stuff, and you're like, oh, you know what? I need a pack of seeds or whatever, right? So, boom, maybe you signed up for something, you're going to get an email, 10% off, I don't know. And then boom, he's going to get your sale. And that's what it's all about. Give something first, don't pitch. And I thought I was impressed by that. Anyway, there you go, Luke. So repurpose every episode into a mini content machine. One of the biggest mistakes podcasters make is letting an episode die after its release. And I am guilty of that, because I'm not really trying to grow the channel as much as I am just trying to educate people on trade and how to use a podcast. But each episode becomes 3 to 5 short clips, 2 social posts, 1 email newsletter, and 1 searchable title optimized for discovery. And repurposing that fuels the flywheel. It multiplies your reach without multiplying your workload. I don't know about that. It does, your workload. I don't do video. I might do video one day, but it's just a lot more editing. And maybe I should just not care about editing, and I just record and then don't care. I don't know. But I do the social posts. If you're like, I'm in the business realm of podcasting, every episode goes on LinkedIn and Alignable. I don't do the Facebook thing. Maybe I should, but I don't. And I am on YouTube, but on the podcast only, not the video. I think video is kind of dying anyways. AI's slop is taking over. People are getting burned out. I'm letting my YouTube premium subscription run out, so I just have less of a want to be on there, I guess you want to say, because it's just a waste of time, man. Here, I found it. MI Gardener Growing Guides. So go to shop on his Michigan Gardener, and then go to Growing Guides, and then you can download several things for gardening. Anyway, I couldn't let it go. I had to find it for Luke. And he did me a solid. He followed me. I figured I'd give him a solid and direct you to his idea of, free download. Anyway, use search-driven episode titles. Now, I do that only because I'm on Buzzsprout, and Buzzsprout has an AI system in there that helps you out with SEO, titles, descriptions, things of that nature. Tags, I guess the tags don't work the way they used to, but anyway. So don't name episodes like art pieces, name them like solutions. So instead of the power of connection, try how to build audience loyalty in 10 minutes a week. It's searchable, benefit driven, and click friendly. Because you're going to search for that. You're not going to search for the power of connection. That doesn't make any sense. If you're trying to find loyalty, you want to figure out how you can build an audience or how to build loyalty. And then the extra is in 10 minutes a week. Build your simple podcast email offer ecosystem. So when you connect, you got an episode, an email, then an offer. You build a flywheel that grows without posting 40 times a day or chasing trends. This system turns casual listeners into long-term supporters, and it works even when you're sleeping. And that's kind of like a stock, right? It's going to work for you all the time. When I was a kid, I just loved that idea. Like you invest, you put your money in a stock and your money works for you 24/7, 365. I was like, oh, that's cool. The problem is you got to get the money to put it in there and blah, 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 right? So, but anyway, it takes work up front. It's like I used to fly jets, right? And when I had a set takeoff power in the KC-10, it was near or almost like, or maybe it was even full throttle. Like the throttles went all the way forward to get this big beast rolling, right? 593,000 pounds of metal had to get rolling and off the ground. And then, once you level off after 15, 20 minutes, whatever it took to get into airspace where we could level off, the throttles came back to half or a quarter, right? You're just kind of sipping fuel at that time, right? And you're at 42,000 feet and just kind of hanging out, and you got the center of gravity just right. You got your fuel tweaked. You got everything, you're kind of swaying, and it's just like, all right, we're up here now. And the radios get kind of quiet because you're high enough out of the way. All the chaos, all the noise, all the full effort is kind of behind you. And it's kind of like what this is. You got to like put a bunch of effort into it in the beginning. You're going to not get traction. You're not going to get anywhere fast. You're still rolling on the ground. You're still below the air tower, the control tower. And maybe you got a wheel kind of getting light in the front there, and the nose wheel's getting light, and you're almost there, and you're almost off the ground. The most effort is getting off the ground, okay? So you got to get consistent and try not to burn out before you get off the ground. And then you can throttle back a little bit. So you don't need to be on every platform. You don't need to be posting consistent or constantly either. I try and post, and I don't, but I try once a week or once a day, I think it is. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They say most people are on LinkedIn, so I'll post something or a like or a comment. And I tried using AI for a minute there and having it post 5 or 10 or 20 times on each platform for me automatically through Perplexity. It was just so fake. It's so chintzy, and it got me nowhere. And I just felt like not exposed, but like a charlatan, like I don't know. It just wasn't authentic. So I quit doing it. So you need a repeatable cadence, repurposed content, and 1 or 2 channels you show up on consistently. So that's my Alignable and LinkedIn, because I'm a business. So, and maybe you're something else, so you do something else. But this is sustainable growth, and it's the kind that lasts, okay? So listener engagement that actually works is the other one. So asking for ratings doesn't build community, but conversations do. So don't say, hey, give me a like and give me a subscribe. I don't know. Try weekly listener questions, polls, shout outs by name, maybe stories from your audience. Make listeners part of the show, and they'll stay for the long haul. Another one you can do is track what actually matters. So you don't need vanity metrics. Downloads feel good, but retention, call to action clicks, email signups, those are what build momentum. And I don't know, I try not to look at the metrics like a Buzzsprout. It gives you a chart and a bar graph and how each episode's doing, how many listeners have downloaded it, and things of that nature. But I'll check it once in a while because it does email, it gives you a text, but you don't, it's kind of like watching water boil. Just don't look at it in the beginning. Maybe later. Like today I looked at it, and that gave me the idea for this episode, and because y'all liked it. So, like the topic, right? So I'm like, well, if that's what you guys are into right now, why would I not give you more of that, and more ideas? So anyway, your podcast hasn't got to be everywhere. It just needs to be intentional. Pick one purpose, deliver one solution at a time, guide listeners with small steps, repurpose everything, and then let that flywheel spin. So thanks for listening to the Trading Post podcast. All of the links and sponsors and community and bonus content in the description. Be good or be good at it.